And then again, in continuation of the previous slide, when we talk about the statutes governing these IPR, whether it's Patents Act, the updated one, it has to be after 2000. The basic act is 1970. Same goes for Trademarks Act. There are amendment acts which have come out later than this, but this is where the inception, these years are where the inception of the acts in India lie. Obviously, there is certain international litigation as well, international legislation as well behind all the intellectual property, keeping the very what we say abstract nature of property in mind. It cannot be really confined to a particular geographical country, and that is where the role of international law comes into the picture. So there is a huge link between IPR and international law again. So that is another area of discussion. I'll just touch base all the points so that you get a holistic view from a business perspective, because when we are talking from a business angle, we really cannot afford to get into too many technicalities. And even if we do that, we have to make sure that we are not losing sight of the bigger picture altogether too. So to see the bigger picture, what is more important is that we are not getting into minute nitty-gritties, but we are trying to see things from a holistic perspective as to what is the application of these legislations, what is the application of these rights altogether. So in the previous slide, we talked about the various types, the broad categorization between industrial and literary property. And in this one, we are talking about the various codified acts which are governing these intellectual properties. It's the Patents Act, Trademark, Copyright Act, Design Act. Now, one thing worth highlighting over here, if you see, there is no statute which is governing trade secrets. And this is what I was referring to when I was saying that even though trade secret happens to be an IPR, I have very conveniently chosen to keep it separate from all other branch of IPRs altogether. So this is why trade secret, when it comes to a trade secret, there is no codified law in India. In US, we do have, they have been trying to codified trade secrets as well, but as far as India is concerned, trade secrets have not been codified yet. And looking at the current nature of legislation, current nature of volatility with which businesses have been transforming, it looks fairly difficult to even see for any such act coming into the picture for the next maybe 2 or 3 years or even more than that. So one question that really arises, that we have a codified act for patents. We can just refer the act and see what is a patent. Patent will be defined over here. When an invention is eligible for getting patented, that is defined over here. What is the protection period of patent? It is 20 years. It would be defined there. So everything is defined there when you have something which has been codified and it has been structured. Obviously, there will be still some scope of interpretation left, and that is where your actual arguments, your litigation, your articulation, your drafting, your pleading comes into the picture. But even if there are these scope of interpretation, one thing is for sure, that there are certain things that despite no matter how much we put our efforts into, we cannot change. For example, if patents protection period is 20 years, it has to be 20 years, no matter how much you try. There will be other aspects of it where when you want to change the components of your invention and reapply for another 20 years, some unethical practices on that front, that is a different area altogether. We won't be getting into it. But all I'm trying to point out here is that there will be little scope of interpretation when we are talking about those intellectual properties which have got a codified statute which are governing them altogether.